Hi there and welcome. This is Roger V, founder of SwiftCloud, and in this quick video I'm going to talk about the design methodologies that apply to pretty much any project, and in this context it's most applicable to websites and to logos and also to branding packages, which includes not just a logo but things like letterheads, business cards, all of the things that set off your branding, official colors that sort of set the look and tone and feel of your company. So in this case, we're going to talk about the 4 different methods and the pros and cons of each so that we can have a more focused discussion in person if we are helping you or directing you, or if you are working with some other provider, you can skip ahead to knowing what it is that they are going to be looking for from you. So as you can see, we've got 4 different basic methods, which are contest, springboard, template, and clone. And very simply, contest is a series of drawings or sketches or Photoshop mock-ups, and then you'll give notes and then come back and give notes and then come back, and it sort of bounces back and forth a bit like a tennis game or like a golf game. And that first initial drive, as it were, to use the golf analogy, might get you close to the green, and then a couple other putts later you end up on the green, and then the point 1 is typically you lining up a final putt. Springboard looks like you giving notes and saying, I like these 2 other websites and I hate this other website, and here's what our goal, and here's what our audience is looking for, and this is what's important to me, and I love these colors. So basically you're giving some directions, and the designer or our team just springboards off of that and starts to run with the ball, and then you kind of give some notes and go from there. This can be a little bit faster and it's a little bit less precise, but if you kind of know what you want, then that can be a good choice. Template is, of course, these days you don't, when it comes to web marketing, if you don't have terribly unique branding and you're not really taking a top shelf national branding sort of thing, if you run, let's say, a local business, let's say you're a real estate agent, well, for real estate agents, every real estate website you could pretty much possibly imagine has been built before. So you don't necessarily need to start from scratch. You can just grab a template, and who cares if somebody else has the same template, because odds are high that they're not in your geographic territory. So if you're a real estate agent in Long Beach, California, then who cares if somebody's using the same template if they are a real estate agent in Miami, Florida. Last, we've got clone, and we do a fair amount of clone projects where somebody comes to us and they say, hey, I just basically want to clone this product, clone this other project or product. And by the time we put your look and feel and logo and pictures and rework the text and everything, it's going to be different. So you're not going to be in any serious danger of true plagiarism in that sense. It's more like just this is an excellent starting place. So what we do is we start with that as a clone and then put some variation on it. Now naturally the cost of that can vary by the complexity that you're cloning from, but what it does do is save a lot of back and forth time, and thus with any provider, us included, if you save time, then you're going to ultimately save money and also get to a finished product faster. So which one is best for you? That's going to vary by your budget, your speed, your precision, and your passion, and what you've got going on. So when it comes to contest, this is most often used for corporate clients and when there's multiple decision makers. So if you've got, let's say, 2 business partners who might have a different vision, then this can be an excellent way to really hone in on something that's truly unique, going to serve you for years to come, and really set the tone and look and feel of your company and really make a unique statement in your space. If you've got the budget for it, then this can look like, in the case of logos, this first round might look like 10 hand-drawn sketches, often from different designers, to really just fully get into a wide variety of looks and feels and sort of sensibilities. And then we'll come back and we will talk to the client, and the client typically says, I love A, and I love B, and I hate C, and I like this other little portion of D, those types of notes. And then us or the other designer or our designers on staff will disappear into a cave and do their design work and come back with typically 3 more, right? And we want to just choose the 3 best. So in their process, they might come up with 7 and just choose the 3 best that are the most exciting. And again, the process is essentially the same. Usually the client says, oh, I really like number 2 and I love 3, but I hate number 1, but I like this other little portion, and see if you can work in more red, or whatever the case is. And then finally you'll get to another final round of 3 options, and usually by that time we've got a pretty solid winner. The point 1 is usually a few little tweaks. Usually the winner is just about perfect, but just needs a few little touch-ups here and there, or move this up, or let's go slightly darker, or whatever the case is. That sort of refers to that point 1. So in the case of logo design, this might be 10 by 3 by 3.1. In the case of website designs, where we're doing a full Photoshop mock-up or something, there's even a little bit of springboarding at the beginning to even get started, and so that 3 by 3 is quite precise. Springboard is perfect if you've got a single decision maker, or the decision makers involved can line up their vision to each other reasonably well. If you start to do a lot of notes once you're in the execution stage, it is going to get more expensive. So it's always cheaper, if you're not sure about what it is that you want, to do a contest design methodology from the beginning, and really hone in when you're in the mock-up stage what the look and feel is, so that once you get to the execution stage and all the let's say the Photoshop files are converted to actual working code, once you're modifying the working code, that's when it can get more expensive. So it's always cheaper to mess with the design and then code it appropriately, rather than springboard it, get to something you don't like, and then have to put in a lot of work modifying it, because at that point we're dealing with actual programming and making it look a certain way with a lot of different moving parts involved. With templates, there are a lot of templates to choose from, and frankly, you could choose really any template from anywhere and give that to us or to your execution team if you're working with somebody else on the design side, or with one of our staff. I hedge that bet, because right now we're in the design space. Long term, we're going to be switching to a talent marketplace based model, but we're not there yet, and working on it. So for now, this might be, you can choose any template and just give that to us, and of course we can execute on that and then put your information, your text, your photos, and that kind of thing into it and start to make that work. Same thing is essentially with clone, except we're executing on the template. So a clone is more work and thus higher cost than template. However, templates are not always, templates definitely, you'll see $2 signs here, and that's intentional. Templates are never perfectly working right out of the box, especially if you're using something like WordPress, which most of our clients are. Unless you're using a full-on e-commerce system like Magento, and you have more than 1,000 products and you truly need a full-on shopping cart, most of our clients are not in that space. So assuming that, you're going to probably be using WordPress. WordPress can have hundreds of options, and thus it's not just simple copy and paste. This definitely does run into some money, because it does run into some work, and they all take a fair amount of work to make look good out of the box. And then on top of that, we have to apply your media to it. So this isn't a oh, here's $50, you're done in half an hour sort of thing. This invariably takes a substantial amount of time, and that does vary by the template. Some of them are simpler than others, and if you're using one of our own templates, then we've got those. Those are the fastest and the cheapest, because it's in-house, we don't have to buy the code, and we know our way around it up and down the block. And so that gives you limited design options, but it is the cheapest. If you just need a really basic site done very fast and very cheap, then using one of our own in-house templates can be a good way to go. So at the end of the day, I want to leave you with one thought before you make a decision, which is cost matters less than the results and the positive ROI. So especially I see this with websites. A lot of times people are some entrepreneurs have never made a bunch of money off of a website, and to them it's just a brochure. And that's sort of not exactly accurate. A website is actually more like a storefront. And if you have a poor looking storefront, it's truly not going to make you money. And if that's the approach that you take, then what happens is you end up with a dumpy looking storefront. It doesn't make you money, thus reinforcing the belief that it won't make you money. So at the end of the day, would you rather spend $3,000 for a website that made you $300,000, or would you rather spend $1,000 for a website that made you nothing? Well, obviously you'd rather spend more knowing that you'd make more, and at the beginning nobody knows that. But what it's going to be for your industry is going to vary by whether or not you're going to make a statement. Are you going to inspire people to buy? Are they going to get to your website? And first they have to trust. They have to look at the website, and that's usually, these days, the first impression they're going to have of your company. So that is a modern storefront. That is the exact equivalent of walking into a store, a retail storefront, and if you get there and there's product all over the floor and the aisles are not lined up and it's not too clean, then that's going to give you a very different impression than if everything's perfectly aligned and perfectly cleaned and the aisles are wide. Just as shopping at Nordstrom's is a very different experience than walking into a dollar store. So I hope that helps you and helps you to make a decision. If you are making a design decision for a website or logo or a similar type project, take a look at this video and then give some thought to which one of these methods you want to choose. And then the next step is to make a written brief of your project, ideally just something in writing, and it can be fairly simple, but it's going to help you communicate to not just us, but any other players in the mix. And of course, we need to communicate it internally. So the more you put down in writing, that is most typically the best next step, is to start to write out what are some of the pages, what are the pages you're going to need, even if it's just the title. That can give us a sense for how to get you an accurate quote and start to make our conversation become reality.